So what is going on, guys? I am BlackOpsAmazing. Welcome back to another zombies video on the channel, where today we are back with another Q&A, taking your questions from the comment section below to do with your zombie storyline, Easter eggs, and answering them. As always, if you do go on to enjoy today's video, drop a like rate and I always really appreciate it. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel, but without further ado, let's get into it. Here we go. So the first question of today is quite a retro one. It's an old one, taking it back to the very beginning of zombies. And surprisingly, even though it's been a staple part of zombies for a long time, I think it's one that a lot of people don't really know. And it comes from Listerine Smartwash, and they say, BOA, how come when playing Black Ops 2 or 3 zombies, you can hear them say Sam? So this wasn't only in those games, this actually came from World at War. It was in Black Ops 1 as well. But this began all the way back in World at War Zombies. And as you rightly say, one of the very few things that they do say is Sam. Obviously the zombies groan, they make some strange noises, but one of the distinguishable actual words that they say is Sam. And so what does it mean? Well, the obvious answer is during World at War and BO1, we know that Samantha was in control of the zombies, and so when they attack you, they say Sam, meaning Samantha. And although that's never actually been confirmed, that's just what we've always put it to. It's really the only logical meaning in terms of storyline. But then, as you say in this question, they also say it in BO2 and BO3. Personally, I can't quite remember that off my head, if they do or not. But if they do, then it doesn't quite make sense in terms of storyline, because we know in BO2 and 3, Samantha isn't in control of the zombies, yet they still say that word. So what does it mean? We don't truly know, unless Treyarch come out and tell us the true storyline meaning. For now, I think the best answer I can give you is that it simply started in the beginning when Samantha was in control. So that's a storyline explanation for it. However, actually, in reality, it's got nothing to do with that. It was initially never intended to be purposely put in the game. Actually, it was a bug. When Treyarch were developing zombies during World at War, one of the many misintentional things that was included in it was the sound Sam. So it was really just Treyarch messing about. Of course, Nakdo and Toten, that whole map itself was just a project, something on the side that Treyarch were working on. I don't think it was too serious. Many things in that map they were just messing about on. They would come across something and think, oh, okay, that's cool, it kind of works, and put it in there. Zombies at that time really only had a few developers working on it. It didn't have a budget. So yeah, originally it was just a random soundbite, but over the years we've added it into the storyline, and we've come up with the idea that they say it because their leader at one point was Samantha. The next question from Sam Junior 6 says, do the Primis and Ultima crew ever die during the cycles? And the answer is yes. I've answered this one quite a few times, and I think this is a pretty obvious answer. We've seen it happen multiple times throughout different trailers. We saw the Primis characters dead in the Gorod Karovi trailer and the Zetsubo Nishima trailer where Takeo killed them. The Primis characters and the Ultimus crew have died many times throughout the cycle. As we know, every time they die, they are sent back to the beginning of that map until they complete whatever they need to do. Who exactly brings them back to life and resets the cycle, we don't know specifically. It isn't mentioned in the Canorium, although I believe it would be Dr. Monty, since he is the one who wants the cycle to continue. And we also know in Black Ops 2, when we were playing as the transit crew and Richtofen was in control, he was the one who reset the cycle for them and kept them alive. So it wasn't only the Ultimus and Primis crew who died during the cycles, it was all of the other characters that we played as well. Whether it was the transit crew, the Shadows of Evil crew, the Call of the Dead crew, everyone in our zombie storyline is trapped in a cycle and have, more than likely, died, and so the cycle has been reset and they've been brought back to life. The next question from Louis Martinez says, hopefully I've pronounced your name correctly as always. I have to say that, I just feel bad if I don't, but you say, what will DLC 3 and 4 be? Also, will there be a season 2 for the Ether story? So good question. So answering your first one, what will DLC 3 and 4 be? Of course, I don't work at Treyarch. I don't know, I can only guess. We know for sure that we are going to the Great War, so we can assume that one of the maps, I would think DLC 4 is going to be the Great War, but we know that DLC 3 is also going to be an Ether map. The next two, which will lead to the end of BO4 for Season 1, are going to be Ether maps. And like I just said, we know that we are going to kill Dr. Monty, we are going to the Great War in one of them, which I would assume is DLC 4. So what are we going to be doing in DLC 3? What are we going to be doing in our next map? Surely both maps aren't going to be taking place at the Great War during that time. It wouldn't make sense. So either DLC 3 takes place just before then, our characters, the Primis and Ultima's crew, are going somewhere, possibly to collect something to help them to defeat Dr. Monty first. Maybe we are going to collect the other crystals from the staffs, because we saw in Blood of the Dead, it looked like post-Revelations Richtofen had the crystal from the fire staff, and he used that to purge all of the evil from Alcatraz. We saw how powerful those staffs are, or at least the crystals are, so possibly our characters are going to go to collect the other 3, wherever they are located. We don't know. I mean, we might be playing as the transit crew for DLC 3 before we go to the Great War. We know they are part of our Ether story, and right now we are left on quite a big cliffhanger as to what's happened to them. We last saw them in Blood of the Dead, locked in the cryogenic chambers, but as we know, that dimension is now closed off. However, in the map after that, chronologically, which is classified, we hear Stuhlinger making a call to Richtofen. So clearly the transit crew survived Blood of the Dead, or at least Samuel did. They are still alive, so possibly we're playing as them. I mean, Treyarch have added them into the story, they've brought them back. To me, it would be a little bit pointless if we weren't going to play as them again. And we know that the actors who do the voices for them have been working for BO4, so I think there's a possibility DLC 3 could be with the transit crew. We've already had a celebrity cast for BO4. Granted, it wasn't for the Ether story, but we have had it, so I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, I think DLC 3, the crew are either going to be preparing for the Great War, they're going to collect something to help them win, or we're playing as the transit crew. And then DLC 4, I think, is going to be the Great War. But what it also could be is maybe DLC 3 is the Great War, and then DLC 4 is the aftermath. Maybe we see where our characters go to after, or what happens after that. I really don't know, it's all speculation. And then you also say for your second question, will there be a season 2 for the Ether story? Because as we know, for the Chaos storyline, Treyarch have said it ended in DLC 2. However, it will continue in season 2, so I would only assume that the Ether story is going to have a season 2 as well. That is, if it doesn't end. I mean, it has gone on for 10 plus years now. Things have to come to an end, right? There's got to be a reason why Treyarch decided to start a new story. Maybe they're slowly killing off the Ether story, and DLC 4 is going to be the end of it. I really hope not. But it does make you think, after we kill Dr. Monty, what else could we possibly do? How many things are these characters going to go through again and again, without the storyline just getting stupid? I don't think it's going to end. I do think there will also be a season 2 for the Ether story, but of course we'll just have to wait and truly see. The next question, which kind of leads on from the last one, says, will we see Leroy in the Great War? So, like I said, we know our characters are going to the Great War to defeat Dr. Monty. The Great War happened during the 1300s, so our characters are going back to that time when the Great War was happening to kill Dr. Monty. And as we know, one person in our zombies storyline who we are a big fan of, Leroy, comes from that era. Leroy originally came from the 1300s. As we know, he got teleported into the future, into Buried, but originally Leroy is from this time. And we know that he was the servant of the Wolf King. The Wolf King was the one who led his army, his people, into the Battle of the Great War. He led his people, along with himself, to fight against the Apothicons, along with the Keepers and Primis. And so if Arthur was the Wolf King's servant, who was always by his side, that means he was around during the Great War. We don't necessarily know if he was actually at the Great War. It's possible he was back at the Wolf King's castle or somewhere else, but if he's his loyal servant, and I definitely think it's something that Treyarch would do, I think Leroy would have been at the battle itself. Because of course, as we know, when the Wolf King ended up being killed during the Great War, it was Arthur that scattered the king's bones around the grounds of Duraz and Dracha. So I do think we will see Leroy in the Great War. I think it'd be awesome if he was roaming around the map, just like he was on Buried, wandering aimlessly, not knowing what to do. Or maybe we get the intro cutscene and we see him alongside the Wolf King as they go into battle. Or possibly Leroy ends up being an Easter egg. Maybe we see him from a distance, or a picture of him, a cipher, something like that. I definitely think Leroy is going to be involved in the Great War in some way, if not actually in game, which I hope he is. I hope it's just like Buried, where he can help us out. If not that, then definitely in some kind of smaller Easter egg. So guys, there we go. That is it for today's video. As always, if you have enjoyed, drop a like rating, make sure you are subscribed, but as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching, and until then, goodbye.